What's up everyone, it's Kelly and today I've got another swatch and review for you. So today I'm actually partnering up with Clionadh Cosmetics to show you their latest collection, which is called On Topper the World. And we have got a ton of new polishes today, but before we get into that, if you haven't heard of Clionadh Cosmetics, they are an independent nail polish and makeup brand based in Canada, but they are available internationally. And all of their polishes are 10 free, meaning they are free of 10 of the potentially harmful ingredients that can be found in nail polish. They're vegan, meaning they do not use any animal-derived ingredients, and they're cruelty-free, meaning they do not test their products on animals. So like I said, we've got this giant new collection on Topper the World. We have 6 brand new jellies, 6 brand new crellies, which is a mix between a cream and a jelly, and then we've got 10 rainbow iridescent toppers. And we even have a matching eyeshadow palette. So needless to say, I was very excited about these. I honestly could make this video like 10 hours just showing you all the combinations, but I am going to show you all of the polishes individually. I will show you all of the iridescent polishes on their own, as well as on top of other colors so you can see what they look like as toppers. And then of course I couldn't resist doing some jelly sandwiches because I love doing jelly sandwiches. So yeah, grab a snack, grab a blanket, because this is going to be a long swatch and review, so roll the swatch footage. Alright, so let's just dive into this journey together. I'm gonna start off with their juicy jellies. So obviously they're jelly formulas, and these are more of the classic rainbow colors in a sheer jelly buildable formula. This first shade is called Ecstatic, and it is a stunning, super vibrant red jelly. You can actually see just in 2 coats, it gave me such gorgeous coverage. It feels like such a perfect summery shade of red, and then you can even build it up to cover up most of that visible nail line. But no matter how many coats you're doing, it's super smooth, it's super self-leveling, and it doesn't look patchy in any areas. So it's actually a really gorgeous shade to wear on its own. I was so excited when I first tried this because this is the first jelly I have tried from Clionadh, and it was a 100% win for me. Next up we have the shade Elated. So moving right along on the rainbow, we've got this orange shade, and I feel like orange and yellow are kind of tricky when it comes to jelly formulas. You can see in the first coat, it does kind of make my free edge look stained, but these colors can be absolutely stunning on the nail on their own. They're perfect for gradients. I honestly thought that this one looked really gorgeous in 2 coats as well, but here's what it looks like in 3, and it doesn't give that stained nail look at all. It absolutely just looks like, I don't know, like 90s inflatable furniture vibes, summery, beachy feeling, and I think that's just so fun. Then we have the yellow shade. This is Joyous, and this one is actually more of a golden ambery kind of yellow, and I will say this is actually pretty different from any yellow jelly I've used before. I do like that warmth. It definitely gave me a little bit more opacity and coverage than I expected, and it really didn't look like stained nails to me at all. So I was super impressed with this, but again, I feel like this is kind of a controversial color, but I do think that most people are gonna love this one in 3 coats. Again, it just looks so summery and bright. It really just looks like sunflower colors on the nail, and even that visible nail line area, it's a lighter yellow, but it doesn't look like a stained yellow. It just looks like a vibrant yellow. So I don't know, I feel like this could be really fun to do jelly sandwiches with, especially because it's giving me a little bit of that amber vibe, so it could be like a trapped in amber kind of situation. Next up we have the shade Thrilled, and this one is the green of the jellies, and this one I would describe as a lime green. I actually keep wanting to call this a frog green because I feel like that yellow toned kind of green is just so froggy to me, but also now that I'm looking at it, it's definitely giving a little bit of like a Shrek vibe, and this was definitely my favorite of the jelly colors. I think this is absolutely stunning. I did end up doing a jelly sandwich with this, which you'll see at the end, and oh my goodness, when you see it, you are gonna fall in love with this polish too if you haven't already. It is gorgeous. So here's what it looks like in 3 coats. Again, it has that perfect sheerness, but it's not patchy at all. Next up we have the shade Delighted, and this one is a blue jelly, but I thought this was interesting because as I applied it, I felt like it had a little bit more of a purpley tinge to it than I expected. So I almost want to say this is a periwinkle leaning blue. It's definitely a deep deeper and darker color as you build it up. So I feel like you could see a little bit more of that purpley tinge to it with less coats. But once I built it up to 3, I could really see that beautiful sky blue kind of color. And again, I just feel like this one is so perfectly summery. It just reminds me of the sky. And I feel like this could also be really cool for some oceanic sort of nail art. And then we have the shade Euphoric. This is the purple of the collection. And this one is actually a very warm tinged purple. So it has a little bit of that like pinky reddish undertone to it. So as I built it up, I was able to see a little bit more of a fuchsia coloring, but I do have a very warm undertone. So that is something to keep in mind. If you have very cool undertones and you wear a jelly polish, sometimes your cool undertones are still going to show through, where my undertones still tend to show through like this. But either way, I do still think this is a very warm toned color. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I tend to associate this type of purple color with autumn. So I feel like this is going to carry over really well into the next season. So now let's move on to the crellies. They're called the Cloud Crellies of the On Top of the World collection. And these ones are slightly different. So I wouldn't say the colors are dupes, but I will show you side-by-side comparisons of them. The one thing that I did notice with these overall is that they do tend to be a little bit milkier and lighter in color. Like it almost feels like this type of shade is mixed in with a white, which is what I really associate crellies with. Another way to tell the crellies from the jellies is that the jellies, as soon as you put that nail polish bottle on its side, it is going to show a little air bubble, whereas these took a little bit more time, and I do find them to be a little bit more opaque and almost cloudy on the nails. So this shade is called Stratus, and it's not at all similar to the shade Ecstatic. It's definitely a pink, and it's actually a little bit of a cooler toned pink. So no dupes here, but another gorgeous color, and it gave me beautiful coverage in 3 coats. Up next, we have the shade Horizon, and this is the orange shade of the crellies, but as you can see, it's not quite a plain orange color. It actually has a little bit more of a salmon sort of tone to it, so a little bit of a peachier color. And one other thing that I do notice with these crellies, since they are more on the opaque side, is that they can be worn more opaque in 2 coats than the jellies. So whereas the jellies, you could definitely see the sheerness in the second coat, the crellies you can get away with wearing in 2 coats if you have short nails like I do at least, and it still gives enough coverage. But I feel like the 3rd coat tends to cover up that visible nail line really nicely. So it's a very buildable formula. It really just depends on how opaque you want to wear it. So here's the 2 oranges side by side. You can see Horizon is definitely a peachier salmon kind of color, whereas Elated is definitely more of an intense orange shade. Next up, we have the shade Solar, and this is the yellow of the collection. Now, this is what I am used to seeing with a yellow jelly kind of polish, but this time we are talking in the crelly formula. It has a little bit of a cooler undertone to it. I almost feel like it's like bumblebee yellow. Is that a thing? I don't know. Maybe highlighter yellow is a better way to describe it, but it's not quite that green. But this one does have that sort of light, milky white vibe to it still. So again, it doesn't look like stained nails. I feel like side by side, these colors look super different, but I honestly love both of them. And I genuinely did not think that I was going to love either of them, because yellow jellies and crellies can be so hard to do, but I think they actually managed to make them really gorgeous. Moving on, we have the color Ozone, and this is the green crelly. Again, it has a little bit of that milkiness to it. So as you build it up, it kind of looks like a little bit more opaque. And this one, in addition to being lighter, also has a cooler undertone to it. So as I built it up, I was feeling like it became more of a grassy green instead of a lime sort of green, not necessarily swampy like the other one, but it did give me really beautiful coverage in 3 coats. You could still see a touch of that visible nail line, but it's very softened. So here they are side by side. Honestly, these are such different colors, and I love that they did that with all of these polishes, because you don't get any dupes and you can have both formulas without feeling like you're just duping your collection. Then we have the shade Cumulus, and this one is the blue crelly. So we have this really, really light, almost pastel blue shade here, and this one actually ended up giving me pretty decent coverage. But I will say, on application, I felt like I wasn't applying it too well. I think I just gave it a little bit too many brush strokes, but the good thing about about that is that I noticed as it dried, it did self-level out. So if you're a beginner and you don't find yourself painting too evenly, I think that this is a type of formula that's going to work really well for you because it does kind of smooth out as it's drying and it fixes any imperfections. So here's what it looks like next to the Jelly Elated. Again, two totally different colors, but I think that they would be really pretty in a gradient together. And then we have the final crelly of the collection. This is Stratus, and this is a lighter pink crelly shade. Now, this one is a little bit on the warm side, but it's definitely distinctly cooler than the jelly shade Euphoric. Again, I think this is a case of me having a warmer undertone because the more opaque I make it, the cooler tone it looks. But on its own, I still feel like it is a warmer leaning shade, and especially in less coats. So it's really interesting to see how it changes as it becomes more opaque. But here they are side by side, and you can just see the undertones look drastically different here, even though we're both working with shades that I would kind of refer to as like an orchid fuchsia kind of shade. Okay, so now we're getting into the actual toppers of the On Topper the World collection. I'm going to show you all of them over my naked nail, even though it is going to be hard to see them in all of their different colors because they are iridescent, so they kind of change based on what you're wearing them over. But I will also show you them over black as well as over one of the crellies or jellies. This is the shade Feelin' Sky High, and there really is a lot of iridescent color in this one. On its own, it looks like it might lean a little bit pinky reddish, but once I put it over black, you can see the depth of color in there. I see a lot of pink into purple into blue, and then we also have some red and orange depending on the angles. So it's a really fun one. It's definitely a very colorful sort of iridescent, and I feel like this is definitely a rare one. Sometimes iridescent colors can be pretty common, but I really haven't seen much like this one. I think it's really pretty. So because of all of that pinky tone in there, I thought it would be nice to pair over Stratus, which is one of the crellies, and I think this is a gorgeous combo. It really highlights a lot of that pink and purple color. Feels like a very princessy combo to me, and also one of the cool things about wearing these over jellies and crellies is it softens out that visible nail line even more and sometimes covers it entirely. Next up we have Happy as a Clam, and this is actually one of my favorite types of iridescent colors. You can see over the naked nail without the light hitting it, it almost looks like a bluish green kind of color, and then when the light hits it, it looks like an orangey sort of gold. And the reason I love shades like this is because I think they really thrive over light colors and dark colors. So over black, it really highlights that intense coppery orange kind of color. It really looks like embers or just like the little end of a fire, and I think that's so cool. But it also looks really beautiful over lighter colors as well because that lighter shade that gets highlighted is on that sort of blue tinge side. So I think it's really fun to pair it with similar base shades. I ended up putting this one over Horizon because I wanted to both highlight that orangey color but also see that contrasty sort of blue tone in there, and it almost looked even a little bit purpley. So I thought this was a really beautiful combo, but I have also seen this one over purple and I think it is breathtaking. Then we have Joys of Spring. So this is another one with a really nice combination of light and dark depending on what you're wearing it over. So again, over the naked nail and over lighter colors, you can see a lot of that bluish green sort of color, but then this one actually transforms into a more pinky gold type of shade over darker colors. Over black, you can see it kind of becomes that duochrome shade where it shifts from pink into copper into golden yellow, and it looks very warm and festive. Again, I just love that lit from within glow that you get from these types of polishes over black, but you can really play around with any color. And I feel like I can never resist pairing a red with something gold because I always love that like Lunar New Year sort of vibe. So I put this one over Ecstatic. I thought it was going to end up shifting a little bit more gold, but you can actually see a lot of that pinky orange color in there as well. So it ended up being a very pleasant surprise with this combination. And then we have the shade Simply Beaming, and this is what I always think of as like the classic iridescent color to me because we have this sort of blue purpley kind of color when the light isn't hitting it and when you're wearing it over a light color, but then where the light hits it and when you're wearing it over darker colors, it becomes this super vibrant yellow metallic kind of shade. It's just crazy to see the difference of this color over black versus on its own, because over black it looks like it is just the most intense yellow metallic ever, and I feel like this just completely became a different manicure. This looks like burnt gold at the bottom of the sea or something, but when you pair it over a lighter color, it changes drastically. So here it is over Solar, and you can see it actually does look really nice with that yellow. I always love to pair an iridescent with kind of a matching color, whether it be one of the darker shades in it or one of the lighter shades in it, because I think it shows the match really well, but it also shows the contrast really well. So you can see the gold, but you can also see a lot of that greenish bluish kind of color, especially around my cuticle area where the light isn't hitting it. Next we have Jump for Joy. This one actually might be my favorite of the iridescents, but it is hard to say because they're all really gorgeous. But I just think this is a really fun color combination. So this iridescent shift is from this almost pinky purpley kind of color over lighter shades, and then it becomes a more golden yellow into green over darker colors. So once again, we have this super drastic shift over how it looks on its own versus over black, because over black you can see that green color, you can see a little gold flash in there, and it just becomes the total opposite sort of shade, whereas on its own it looked like it had this cute pinky little glow. And I also just love that combination of green and pink, so I wanted to keep it going and try it over Thrilled, and I think this is a really cute combination. I feel like it looks even cuter in real life, but just you wait until I do this in a jelly sandwich, because I think it looks even better as a sandwich. And then we have the shade Head in the Clouds, and this one, it looks like it's going to be very similar over the Naked Nail, but again, once you see it over other colors, you will see how drastic that difference is. So on the Naked Nail, again, you get a little bit of that pinky tinge to it, but you can see where the light hits it that there's a little bit of a metallic pink spark as well as a greenish golden spark. So not only does this one look totally different over black, it also looks very different from all the other shades that I'm showing you. It's just really interesting to see all the bottles side by side look so similar, but then once you try them over other colors, they could not be more different. So this one, you still see that greenish sort of color, but then we also have this intense pinky shift in there. So it's just a really fun, contrasty combination. And again, keeping with the pink and green theme, I decided to pair it over Euphoric because I thought that that would just give me a little bit of like, I don't know, Wicked vibes. And I think I was right, because this is kind of a medium color, so it shows a little bit of how it looks lighter as well as dark. So you can still see that sort of pinky tone to it, but then you also see that metallic pink shine, and then you see that really intense green in there too. Next up we have Cloud 9. This is another one that does have that sort of pinky tinge on the nails when you wear it on its own. I feel like iridescents can kind of be classified into the two different categories where, or maybe three actually, they can either look pinky on the nail on their own, they can look a little like bluish purple, or they can look like a sort of yellowed color. And these ones are all definitely in that pinky tone, but again, they look super different when you try them over other colors. And this one, you can already start to see that there is a very strong green shift in here. So once I applied it over the black, it was a totally green shifting iridescent shimmer with almost a little bit of like this gray tinge in there. So it's kind of more of like a silvery, snaky kind of green rather than a pinky toned green. Even though it does have a similar color in there, it feels very different and it gives off a very different vibe. So I tried this one over the shade Ozone because I was really curious to see if more of that green shift would pick up or if more of the pinky shift would pick up. And I think it actually ended up showing a lot more of that silvery gray color, but around the edges you could also see a lot of that pink. So it was really interesting to see how this one transformed. I definitely wasn't expecting this combo to give me this end result, but I really like it. Then we have the shade Happy Go Lucky, and this is another one that has that sort of pinky base to it when you apply it on its own, but we actually have a pretty different color palette here. Now I am going in sort of a rainbow, but you can see that this is actually more of a green into blue shift where the light is hitting it. So we're definitely verging into that cooler sort of territory here. And as soon as I applied this one over over black, it gave me such a different look from Cloud 9. This one, I feel like you definitely see a lot more of that bluish sort of tone into a teal kind of color into green, and it is absolutely stunning. It really gives me a bit of an oceanic sort of vibe, like sort of deep ocean looking color, just because of that green and blue in there, but it really is gorgeous. I thought it was going to give me a little bit more of a green tinge, but I am pleasantly surprised to see how much blue is in there. And then I tried this one over Euphoric again, just because I really like that purple shade, and I was curious how this would look over a purple tone that had a little bit of warmth to it, just because I wanted to see that contrast. And I think this is actually a really interesting color combination. It really cools down that purple and makes it look a little bit more mysterious. It almost gives me like a little bit of an evil vibe, so I really enjoyed that as well. And then we have the shade Over the Moon, and I'm not gonna lie, in the bottle this one does kind of look disappointing because you can't really see too much of a color shift going on. It almost looks like it's just a pearly tone, but when I started applying it, I was able to pick out some of the colors in there a little bit better, and I saw a lot of pink and purple and blue, so I knew I was in for a treat when I applied it over the black, but I really didn't expect the depth of color that I got from this one. I feel like it ended up just being so packed with all of those colors in there, and together it just gave a very cosmic galaxy sort of vibe over black. I love shades like this. I think they're super fun, and these are really just all my favorite colors combined into one polish, so I'm definitely pleased with the outcome of this one. And then I also tried it over Cumulus, and this was another really surprising result because I tried it over such a light color. I feel like I got mostly that sort of icy shade, but you could still see little flecks of purple and blue and pink in there, and this combination is definitely giving me a little bit of a Cinderella vibe, so I thought that was really fun. Definitely very icy. And then last but not least, for the toppers, we have the shade Walking on Air. So you can pretty much immediately see once I started applying this one over the naked nail that the base color here over lighter shades is going to be on the yellow toned side, which means that when it's over a darker color, you're going to see a lot of blue. So I was really excited about this one, and I actually ended up liking this one even more than I expected to over black because I thought it was going to be a primarily blue color, but it ended up being a little bit more dimensional than that. So head on, I saw a lot of blue, but around the edges, I saw a cooler tone purple go into a warmer tone purple, and then even into a little bit of like a pinky tone at some angles. So again, very cosmic, very beautiful. And then I paired it over the shade Cirrus just to see how it would look over a medium tone, and I feel like I got a lot of that really beautiful blue in there as well as sort of that pinky tone coming to life over that purple. So I thought this was a really cool combination as well. But now let me show you some of the experiments that I did with jelly sandwiches. This is Thrilled and Jump for Joy, and this might be the best combination I have seen ever, at least in a very long time, of colors, because this lime green plus that duochrome yellow to green shimmer I think works so perfectly. So cannot get over this combination. It feels like the perfect summer color, and honestly you could do some lime nail art over this and I think that would be perfect. I also tried the shade Euphoric with the shade Head in the Clouds, so that one gave me that really interesting color combination of like the pink and the green in there, and I think adding another coat of Euphoric on top of it just really cemented that pinky sort of tone in there. So we have a really strong, interesting contrast, and I'm really glad to see that it didn't get covered up by the purple. And then we have the combination of Ecstatic and Joys of Spring, and this is the one that I kept thinking was going to give me like a red and gold kind of vibe, a little Lunar New Year sort of situation, but I did find that pairing another layer of red over it ended up making that color underneath look super vibrant and pinky, and then we almost got a little orangey tone around the edges. So very different from what I expected, but still very summery and fun. Now this combination is using a different Clionadh topper I have called Golden Prairie plus the jelly shade Elated, and I just had to show you this because this might be the other prettiest combo I have ever seen, if not in a very long time, because just melting those little gold flakes into a vibrant orange like this is so beautiful, and I don't know, I feel like I could wear this for the rest of my life. And one more just for funsies. This is Elated plus another shade from a different collection called Stretch O'Clock, which is black and white shard glitters. And I thought this was really fun as well. I feel like the jellies really contribute to softening the color of the glitter on top of it without losing the glitter. So I just think it's really fun to experiment with these. So here are the two rainbow parts of the collection. We've got the Juicy Jellies and the Cloud Crellies side by side, and I just want again for you to be able to see the comparison of the colors. We have absolutely no dupes here, and you can see the lighter, almost white toned shades are the crellies, whereas the more intense jelly colors are a little bit more of that classic rainbow sort of vibe. And then we have the iridescent toppers, which I know it's hard to tell what they look like over the naked nail, especially on camera. I will say I do think that iridescent polishes can be worn on their own, and I think they're really stunning that way, but it is hard to pick that up on camera. So I'm also showing you all of them over black just so you can see the color differences. And these also go through the rainbow really nicely, so we don't have any overlap in the colors. They're all pretty different and pretty impressive in my opinion. So yeah, let's talk about these a little bit more. So those are all of the polishes of the On Top of the World collection, and as you could guess, I absolutely love these. I feel like every aspect of this collection is just something that I love about nail polish and makeup in general. Having jellies, which is so layerable and transformative, super fun. Crellies is just another type of jelly in my opinion, just a different way to play around with them. And then again, just having all of those iridescent toppers that can just change any manicure you're already wearing. And to top it all off, like I said in the beginning of the video, they do have a matching eyeshadow palette. So this palette actually has 10 iridescent eyeshadows in it that are all matching the 10 iridescent polishes in this collection. And if you know one thing about me, it's probably that I love to match. I love to match my makeup to my hair, to my nails. I am just a big matchy person, and Clionadh Cosmetics always does these matching eyeshadows, which excites me like no other. I just love the ability to wear the same color on my eyes as on my nails. I think that's just super cool. And I will say, Clionadh has some of the best shimmery eyeshadows I have ever used. I feel like every single time I wear them, I have gotten complimented. But yeah, super impressed with this palette so far. I think it's absolutely stunning. But yeah, back to the polishes. The formulas are great. The colors are absolutely gorgeous. Jellies just work so well. And if you're looking for a little bit more of a creamy kind of formula, they also have the crelly option, and I appreciate that they gave us variations in the colors too, so you can honestly have them all and it really can just mix and match your manicure so well. And don't even get me started on Skittle manicures, because you can do every single nail a different color and have so many different combinations of these polishes. I cannot wait to experiment with all of these. Even just layering jelly polishes over each other can yield such fun results, but having the addition of the shimmers in there just makes it even more fun. So yeah, as you can see, love this collection. Let's talk a little bit more about pricing and availability. All these polishes come in 11.5 milliliter bottles. Now the pricing is in Canadian dollars. I am in the US, so at the time of filming this video, the price in US dollars is around $10.50 USD, and that is per polish for all of the formulas here. I also do have an affiliate discount code with Clionadh Cosmetics, so you can use the code KELLI to get an extra discount, but I'm gonna link everything down below. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts on this collection. What do you think of the polishes? How do you feel about the three different formulas, the jellies, the crellies, the iridescents? And also, what do you think of these eyeshadows? Leave it all in the comments, we can chat about it. If you enjoyed my swatch and review videos, please hit that like button. It really helps me out. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Okay, today's Would You Rather is kind of similar to one I did recently, but I was just inspired by this collection. Again, it's would you rather wear jellies forever or crellies forever? And I feel like my answer is kind of influenced by this collection right now. As I was swatching the crellies, I was like, oh, I think I might like crellies better. But then when I was swatching the jellies, I was like, oh wait, no, I think I like jellies better. But I will say in general, I think I do tend to prefer jellies just because they are a little bit more versatile versatile in terms of like what you can do with them. And you can even pop a jelly over just any existing manicure and it'll totally transform it without looking like you just put another color over your manicure. So I think for that reason, I would pick jellies. I do think that crellies have a really good place, especially for nail art, for gradients, for any of that sort of stuff. And it's really fun to layer with them as well. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough call and they're very similar, but I think I do have to pick jellies in this case. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave it in the comments and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.